At my wedding, everyone was laughing. Champagne flowing. Music pulsing. Plates clinking like tiny bells of celebration. Except him. My brand new husband. He stood at the head table. Expression blank. Eyes cold. Jaw locked. He didn't smile. Didn't touch his glass. Didn't even look at me. I tried to laugh it off, brushing a crumb from my white dress. "Why are you silent?" I asked, reaching for his hand. He didn't flinch. Didn't answer. Just stared through me like I was a stranger who had crashed his perfect day. "My name is Sophia. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. 'Cause what happened next turned my dream wedding into a funeral for the version of me who trusted too easily." Halfway through dessert, a waitress slipped between the dancers and tapped my shoulder. She was young, nervous, twisting a folded scrap of paper in her shaking hands. "This is for you," she whispered. I frowned, took it, unfolded the note. 6 words scrolled in quick panicked ink. "You married the wrong twin." Run, the room spun. My ears roared. I looked at my husband, or the man I thought was my husband. He was still staring, still silent, still empty. And at that moment I lost the power of speech. Because the man in front of me wasn't who I thought he was. And the man I loved was gone. My fingers went numb around that piece of paper. "You married the wrong twin." Run, the words pulsed like a siren in my brain. I looked up. My husband, or whoever he was, still staring right through me with that terrifying emotionless calm. Someone clinked a glass for a toast. Laughter rolled across the ballroom like a wave. No one noticed I was drowning. I tried to stand. My legs shook. The note crumpled in my fist, sticky with sweat. How? How could this be possible? He kissed me this morning. He'd held my hand. He'd vowed to love me forever. Except now there was nothing behind his eyes but ice. A waiter passed with a tray of champagne. I grabbed a glass, gulped it, trying to force my voice to work again. Finally I croaked. "Where is he?" The fake husband didn't react. Just folded his hands politely as if rehearsing being human. I leaned in closer, whispering so no one else could hear. "What did you do with him?" No answer. Panic ripped through me. I turned, scanning the crowd, searching every face. For him. For the man I'd loved since college. The one with the shy smile and the warm laugh. The one I was supposed to marry today. Instead, I'd been led straight into a nightmare. The waitress who gave me the note was lingering near the exit, eyes wide with terror. Mouthing go, I moved to stand, but a hand clamped around my wrist under the table. Strong, unforgiving. Fake husband leaned close, lips barely moving. "If you try to leave," he whispered, "you'll never see him alive." My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought I'd faint. 'Cause right then I knew this wasn't just a switch. This was a hostage situation. And I was the bargaining chip. My whole body went cold. His fingers were still wrapped around my wrist, polite enough to look invisible to the guests, but digging in hard enough to bruise. I forced a smile. 'Cause eyes were still on us. It was my wedding after all. My wedding. I could barely comprehend it. Every plan, every dress fitting, every cake tasting, all leading to this horror show. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "Where is he?" I whispered again, teeth clenched in the shape of a smile. Fake husband tilted his head, studying me like I was a new animal at the zoo. "Safe," he said. "For now." The music thundered around us, a sick mockery of celebration. I tried to breathe normally, to keep my face calm. There had to be a way out. I wasn't going to play a puppet forever. The waitress was still at the exit, her eyes darting to me, then the door, then back, pleading silently, begging me to move. My mind was racing. You married the wrong twin. Run, that meant the real groom was alive somewhere. But this monster had him. I shifted, breaking eye contact, focusing on a slow plan. 1. Get to the kitchen. Say I needed to fix my makeup. 2. Slip out through the staff hallway. 3. Find the police. Simple. Terrifying. But my only shot. I patted my fake husband's hand with a forced sweetness. I need a moment to freshen up, he smiled back. Chilling. Empty. Of course, darling, but as I stood to go, he leaned in, voice a dagger in my ear. One wrong move and you'll never see him breathing again. My knees nearly buckled. But I walked. Somehow. Crossed that ballroom floor. With every guest's happy eyes on me. They had no idea. No one did. Except the girl by the door. Except me. And the man I loved. Waiting somewhere in the dark. I made it to the powder room without collapsing. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely lock the door behind me. My reflection stared back at me. White dress. Flawless makeup. Perfect hair. And dead panic swimming behind my eyes. I gripped the sink until my knuckles went white. Think Sophia. Think. He had the real groom. He'd replaced him. He was holding me hostage. In plain sight. Surrounded by family and friends. Who would never believe a word of it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash the mirror. I wanted to tear the dress off and vanish into the night. Instead, I splashed cold water on my face. Gulping air. Then, a soft knock at the door. Sophia, it was the waitress. The one who'd given me the note. I rushed to unlock the door, yanking her inside. Where is he? I hissed, voice cracking. Where's my fiancé? Her eyes darted around, terrified. They're holding him. A warehouse outside town. I only know because they tried to pay me to drug you before the ceremony. I couldn't do it. I felt the blood drain from my face. Why him? Why me? She shook her head, tears brimming. Something about inheritance. His family money. They needed you to marry the twin for legal control. My stomach flipped. Of course. A trust clause. His parents had told us 100 times. If he married, he'd unlock the last of the family fortune. And now this twisted doppelganger had stepped in to steal it. And me. I swallowed, fighting a sob. Can you get me out of here? She nodded. Determined. Back kitchen. Staff loading dock. I'll stall him. My hands gripped hers like a lifeline. Thank you, but as I turned to go, she grabbed my arm. Eyes wild. Sophia. Listen. If he realizes you're running, he will kill your fiancé. You have to be smart. I froze, every nerve screaming. I couldn't just run. I needed a plan. One that wouldn't sign his death warrant. 'Cause I wouldn't leave him behind. Not after everything. I wiped my eyes, straightened my shoulders, and stepped out of the bathroom. Time to play along. Until I could burn this whole nightmare to the ground. The ballroom roared back to life as I stepped out. Glasses clinked. A slow love song hummed from the speakers. People smiled and waved, as if the world wasn't ending in real time around me. He was waiting at the head table, hands folded, mask perfect, smile pinned to his face. The twin imposter, my fake husband. His eyes tracked me across the floor, laser sharp, dissecting every move. I forced a shaky grin. Sorry, honey. The veil was making me dizzy. He stood, offered me his arm, playing the doting husband for the crowd. Shall we dance? Every muscle in my body screamed no, but I nodded, 'Cause I had to keep him calm. Keep him thinking I was under his control. We moved to the floor. The music soft and syrupy. He held me close, breathing against my ear. "Don't even think about running again," he whispered. I managed a tiny, terrified laugh. Of course not, my mind was a hurricane. Warehouse outside town. Staff loading dock. Waitress stalling. But how could I get there without dooming the real groom? I swallowed hard. I needed leverage, something he wanted so badly he'd let me see my fiancé alive, even for a moment. Money. That was it. The inheritance. I lifted my head, forcing my voice steady. "You want the trust, right?" His grip tightened, jaw ticking. "Keep your voice down." I leaned closer, lips barely moving. "If you hurt him, you'll never get a dime. I know how the claws work. They'll trace everything. It will all burn." He stilled. That was my opening. "I'll cooperate," I lied, swallowing bile, "but I need to see him. I need to know he's alive, or I swear I will tank your entire plan." The muscle twitched in his cheek. I knew I'd hit the mark. He needed me married, cooperative, silent to unlock the money. And maybe, just maybe, he'd give me one look at the man I loved. It was a gamble. A suicidal, reckless gamble. But if I didn't try, I'd never see him again. And the monster dancing me around that room would win. I had one shot. "Show me," I whispered. "Or I end this right now." His eyes burned through me, and then, with a chilling calm, he nodded once. Tomorrow. The rest of the night blurred around me. First dances, cake-cutting, toasts, like actors in a bad play, clapping and laughing on cue while I felt like I was dying inside. I kept smiling, kept performing, because every second was a test. He never let go of my hand, never more than a breath away, like he owned me already. When the last guests trickled out, the monster twin leaned close. "Pack your things. We leave at dawn." My stomach lurched. "Where?" His smile was a knife. "To see a groom." Course he made it sound like a date, like he was showing me a tourist attraction. I nodded, numb. Later, alone in the hotel suite, I finally let myself collapse. I curled up on the bathroom floor, dress half undone, sobs ripping through me. How had my life turned into this? How had I missed the warning signs? A twin. He'd mentioned him vaguely once or twice, but I thought it was just family drama. Nothing serious. Now it was my nightmare. I rinsed my face, pulled myself together. One thought anchored me. He's alive. As long as that was true, I had a fighting chance. Before sunrise, I packed. A burner phone from the waitress was hidden under my garter. She'd slipped it to me during the bouquet toss, a miracle in the chaos. One message. One number programmed in. "Call if you get a chance." I wouldn't waste it. Dawn, he came for me. Perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect stranger. He opened the door like a gentleman. "Ready, Mrs. Cole?" My skin crawled, but I nodded. We drove in silence for an hour. Out of the city, past the suburbs, down a long gravel road that ended in a rusted warehouse straight from a horror movie. He stepped out first, then gestured for me to follow. "After you." The sun was rising behind us, a blood-red glow. Felt like the end of the world. I swallowed my fear and walked inside because I was done running. If I was going to save him, it started right here. The warehouse was freezing. Cement floors, metal beams, a single buzzing light overhead. He led me through a maze of crates and shadows until we reached a far corner. There. My heart stopped. My real groom tied to a chair, hands bound, face bruised, eyes swollen but alive. I nearly collapsed, but forced my legs to keep moving. He lifted his head, and when he saw me, tears filled his eyes. "Sophia," he croaked. I dropped to my knees, reaching for him, but the monster twin yanked me back by the arm. "No touching," he ordered, cool as ever. I turned, rage breaking through my fear. You have what you wanted, I spat. You have the marriage. Let him go. He tilted his head, smiling that dead-eyed smile. Almost. But first, he needs to tell me the codes. My stomach turned to ice. The codes. The bank. The trust. The final piece. My fiancé shook his head, voice steady. I'll die before I help you. The twin's smile sharpened. You might. I swallowed, brain screaming for a way out. Then I remembered the waitress's phone in my garter. If I could distract him for 30 seconds, maybe I could call for help. I stood, wiping tears, steadying my voice. Please, I begged, voice breaking in all the right places. Don't hurt him. I'll talk to him. I can make him tell you. His eyes glittered with suspicion, but he nodded once. Convince him. You have 10 minutes. He stepped back, checking his watch. My hands trembled as I turned to my fiancé. He was still staring at me, fighting to stay conscious. I leaned close, so close my lips brushed his ear. I have a phone, I whispered, voice so tiny he almost couldn't hear. In my garter. They'll come. Hold on. He squeezed my hand with what little strength he had left. I stood, drawing the twins' gaze. He needs water, I said, steady as stone. If you want him to talk, he needs to stay alive. Twin hesitated, then waved a guard over. Perfect. One more distraction. I slipped my hand under my dress, found the burner phone, and dialed the waitress's emergency number. 1 ring. 2. 3. Hello? My voice was barely a breath. Send help. Warehouse off Highway 9. Now. Then I snapped the phone shut, shoved it back, and turned, just as the twin grabbed me by the shoulders. What did you just do? I looked him dead in the eye, a spark of steel finally awakened in my veins. I'm ending this. His fingers dug into my shoulders like claws. What did you do? He snarled, voice shaking for the first time. I met his stare, steady, ice-cold. They're coming, I said. You can run, but you'll never get the trust. And you'll never have me. He shoved me backwards so hard I hit the concrete floor, pain rattling through my spine. In the corner, my real groom struggled against his ropes, blood on his lip, eyes wild with panic. Twin whirled around, barking at the guard. We're leaving. Get the car. But outside I heard it, sirens. Close. Closer. Red and blue lights bleeding through the cracks in the warehouse walls. The guard bolted. Twin looked at me one last time, fury boiling over. You could have had everything, he hissed. I forced myself upright, glaring at him through tears. No. I only wanted him. He spun and ran, disappearing into the maze of crates, just as the police burst through the side door, guns drawn. Down! Police! I scrambled to my fiancé, sobbing, trying to untie his hands with shaking fingers. It's okay, I cried. You're okay. I'm here. His arms came around me the second he was free, and for the first time since that nightmare started, I felt the earth steady under my feet. The officers swarmed, shouting commands, but it was a blur. All I could see was him. Breathing. Alive. Safe. They led us outside into the dawn. Paramedics fussed over his injuries, wrapping blankets around our shoulders. My wedding dress was torn, filthy, stained with a story no one would ever believe. But I was free. The waitress who'd saved us stood in the distance, tears streaming, clutching her phone like a lifeline. I mouthed, "Thank you," and she nodded, sobbing too hard to speak. They never caught the twin. Not that day. Maybe not ever. But he would never have my name. Never have my trust. Never have my love. 'Cause I chose the real man. Not a cheap copy. Not a thief. And as they loaded us into the ambulance, I squeezed my fiancé's hand and whispered, "No matter what happens next, I'm yours. Always." His voice was raw, broken, but true. Always. And for the first time that day, I let myself believe that love could survive.